Hello and welcome to Point to Play Games with some more Detective Grimoire. The very last time we were going through, we kept talking to some people about the boggy costume, as well as Richard Remington, discovering this protester, which we had not seen before, as he seems to have just appeared, and also, once again, seeing the little girl, and apparently the swamp creature told the little girl to tell us thank you, that we're not going to take him away. Either way, we have so much more to talk about. Oh, I just remembered. We also spoke to Sally, who's the person who does the souvenir shop, and came to the conclusion that someone other than her wore the leggings because they're all stretched out. But, like I was saying, we still have a little bit more to talk to this guy about, so let's just get talking. So we went through all four of these, but we have to present the clues, present the profiles, and just kind of generally go through all that. So let's start with the clues.
No thanks, my friend.
Okay.
I'm afraid I have no idea.
So we've already found pretty much his, just go-to speaking.
Show it to somebody else.
Okay.
No thanks, my... I'm afraid I...
Great. Okay.
Show it to...
Oh, this is so much easier than normal.
No thanks, my... I'm afraid I...
Nope, he knows nothing about that. Alright, let's go... Again, we're just gonna go up and up.
Show it to...
Cool.
No thanks, my...
I mean, I think he's gonna give us absolutely nothing.
I'm afraid I... Show it... No thanks. I'm afraid...
Oops. This is so far.
Why are you carrying that around with you?
I have a suspicion it may have been the murder weapon.
Really? I thought Remington was attacked by something with claws, wasn't he?
That was interesting.
What?
You're not a bad detective.
Well, I found the photo in Remington's office. It was ripped up, though. I think he was some kind
He
of...
was a lot of things. Don't lose that picture. And show it to Mr. Harper before you leave.
I feel like I did, though. I'm telling you, this guy is like a reformed, one of the hunters, but he's like reformed or something like that.
This is the journal, correct? The one that man left here 60 years ago?
You seem a little unsure of the details. Shouldn't you have read up on all this stuff?
Forgive me. It's hard for me to get the image of Boggy as the lovable cartoon character out of my mind. He's just so iconic. Did you know, in 1973, he...
But you're protesting to protect the real swamp creature. The cartoon character is just some commercial byproduct, right?
Yes, of course.
This feels more and more like this guy knows something, but he's just not quite telling us.
Show it to somebody...
That's what I thought.
No thanks, my... I'm afraid... Show it to some... No thanks.
Okay, and last...
I'm afraid...
Okay, so the biggest and most interesting thing was his reaction to the hunting photo. Granted, the fact that he even reacted to the fireplace poker is interesting by itself. However, his reaction to that hunting photo really makes me think. So, let's just go through and talk about all these people. Let's start with... Oh, I see. This is like levels of suspicion right now. Technically, everyone is super suspicious because we haven't done any of these. We'll have to do that later. But let's just start with Sally Spears and just kind of make our way. Although, he mentioned Harper specifically, so I think I'm going to go like this. And just leave these two for last, and maybe these three, really.
You're wasting your time with that one.
See, that has two different meanings. Either he knows that she's, has nothing to do with it, or he knows nothing.
A man who has sacrificed luxuries to protect those who need protecting. Pretty good beard, too.
Yeah, I know. It literally floats there in 3 parts. Or 4. Profile.
I have nothing to say about them.
Okay.
You're asking the wrong person.
That's fine.
You're wasting your
Figured.
Ah, yes. Agent Folder. A good man.
You know him?
We get on rather well. And we shared a number of views on the way things were run around here.
Okay, that's very interesting. In terms of interest, I want to start with Remington.
The murder victim.
Since last night, yeah. But he was the owner of Boggy's Bog. Did you know him?
Not personally. To be honest, I'm quite glad about it.
Okay, let's talk about
Boggy
Boggy.
is my prime suspect, you know. The creature you're trying to protect.
Protect is the wrong word. If your suspicions were correct, we could both agree he's a creature that doesn't need protecting.
You think he might be the murderer?
I think he's a wild animal, and he wants to be left alone at any cost.
Okay, and last but not least.
He seems like a good person. He even sympathizes with my cause.
He agrees with your protest? But he works here, right? And he was friends with Remington.
I think that was the only reason he worked here. Maybe he'll see the light now and leave the swamp behind him. Maybe everyone will.
Again, this is so interesting. He feels like... He really feels like he's like someone... What if he's this guy? See this right here? That little nubbin of beard? That very well could be him. Alright, well, either way, we have more to talk about with other people, just to try and get all the information we can. Let's talk about... I mean, we just kind of have to talk about everything and everyone,
This area is
don't
kind
we?
of...
So let's present the last few clues just for the sake of it. I doubt anything will come of it, but then we can move on to the profiles. Cool.
I'm sorry, I have not seen that before.
You know, I think that was actually a different thing that he said, though it was still dismissive.
What is it? Some evidence from last night's murder?
You're helpful.
I really don't have an...
Okay.
You should ask someone else.
Cool.
Try showing it to somebody different.
You're so useless to me.
I really don't have an opinion. You should ask someone.
Cool, alright. Well, you've given me
This area is
everything.
kind of...
Please. Alright. We have so many clues.
If you want an autograph,
Cool. Not profiles yet. I want to talk about the clues still. So
I don't really have time.
that's fine. Figured. So
You
we
won't be
obviously have to talk to
If you want an autograph, I don't
Agent
really have...
Folder about that guy
You won't be
that we
getting
just
very-
spoke to, the protester. Echo.
If you want an...
What can you tell me about these designs?
Yeah, that was the wrong thing.
I don't really...
But yeah, no. So we obviously have to
You
talk
won't
to
be getting
Agent
very far.
Folder about him.
If you want an
Because they
autograph,
seem to know each other in some
don't
way,
really ha-
in some facet. Maybe
you won't be getting...
maybe we'll be able to get something out of it. Probably him
If
and
you want an-
Harper. They seem to know each other.
I don't really have time. He's a talented man, that Burl. Sometimes I wonder if he'd be better off pursuing his photography full-time, you know?
I mean, interesting, but not really helpful.
You won't be getting very far discussing.
That's what I figured. And last but not least,
If you want an autograph,
all right, cool. We got a couple
I
profiles.
simply don't have time to help you with it.
That's fine.
You want me to sign?
Oh god, you're killing me.
I'm a busy man, and this doesn't look...
Great.
I simply don't have time.
And lastly,
You want me to sign a photo?
all right, this is what we figured. So now let's move forward again. We'll talk to
That museum, which makes... Is it being...
It is bizarre that it's here. We've definitely gone over that several times. If only I remember to hit the thing that shows the arrows. All right, we're 96%. We're doing so well. All right, we got a few last clues.
So, you found it. I wonder who else knows about it.
All right, this is getting a little sketchy here. Like, what is going on?
I have no interest in some...
Ugh,
You're wasting your...
it's fine.
I've never seen...
That's
I have
fine.
no interest in...
That's fine.
You're wasting...
This is all to be expected.
This is just a piece of junk they sell to tourists. It has no resemblance to the real creature.
I'm starting to really question if these people know the real creature.
A good example of how Boggy's feet are never shown in any form. They often use that little red bucket to hide them.
Cool, alright, let's do a couple profiles. And since he should know Echo, we'll save that for last.
If I cared about that
That's fine.
next time, only show me
That's cool.
this person is of no interest in.
Figured, and last but not least.
Oh, yes, I know him. He occasionally asks me about the history and biology of the swamp creature. I explained to him what the real boggy looks like and how they changed his appearance for the cartoon character.
Why did he ask about that?
Because some people are naturally curious. You should give it a try sometime.
So it'd be way too obvious to just assume that he is the murderer. Like, it would be painfully obvious if that is what we're gonna assume. Up the stairs, and let's talk to oh my god, Waybridge. Well, I'm close enough. All right, we got a couple last things to talk to you about.
I recognize some of those men. Unfortunately, they've hunted in the swamp before.
Before it became a protected area?
Before that, yes. And one of them after that.
Okay, that last little part was interesting. I really do think that it's Remington. Feels like I'm done talking to her. That could be the case, but we still have a few things.
No, thank you. He drew me into his journal. I was 20 years old. That's the end of the story.
I bet it's not. Does this explorer have a name?
Yes.
Are you going to tell me?
No.
Alright.
If you bring me something with...
Okay. Again, feels like done talking to her, but she's been here way too long.
You should ask...
I just want to ask about these people.
Show it to someone who doesn't live in a tree.
That's great. Alright, last but not least, just because...
I'm not even...
Alright, I figured. So this literally does, give a strong indication. I've never noticed it to this point. Some people may have been yelling at me the entire time, yelling at their screens as they're pulling their hair out, saying, "Don't you just read what's on the screen?" And the answer is very simple. I don't. No, not at all.
I can't help you with that one. It's here a lot. I think he's been putting less effort into his protests recently, which is a shame. I think it's an admirable cause.
Do you talk to him much?
Not really. Sometimes he likes to talk, just casual conversation. He asks how business is going and what everyone likes to eat, nothing of real importance.
Why? Okay. Alright, we gotta go through this stuff, apparently. So, let's start. That's
Not suspicious?
Not suspicious.
Not suspicious. Not suspicious.
But, really? That is...
Not suspicious. Not suspicious. Not suspicious. Not suspicious.
This feels like it's not suspicious. Okay, now let's go previous.
Not suspicious.
This is so suspicious. This is so suspicious. This is a little suspicious.
Not suspicious.
Not. This is a little suspicious. Suspicious.
Not suspicious.
This suddenly feels not suspicious because we have an answer.
Not suspicious. Not suspicious. Not suspicious.
This is suspicious because we have the answer. This is not suspicious.
Not suspicious.
Okay. Suspicious. Suspicious.
Not
I can
suspicious.
understand, so I don't think so.
Not
I don't
suspicious.
think it's very suspicious. This isn't suspicious.
Not
A
suspicious.
little suspicious. Saw hunters looking for boggy and swamp.
Not suspicious.
So,
um. I mean, it's so tough to tell. It says nobody knows the shape of boggy shared knowledge of.
Oh?
All right, hold on. I have. We have to figure out what his thing is. So what do we have to? What have we not looked at?
The tables, water, seriously. There's a wooden path, but do they expect tourists to... There's a little... I think it's part of the... A shipwreck, and...
We must be missing something.
What? Yeah, I have a pretty good view of him from here. Anyone supporting animal rights is okay in my book. His protest used to have a bit more energy, though. He spends more time inside his tent these days.
What's he doing in there?
I'm happy to say, I don't know.
There might be something I can ask Echo about.
My breakfast, my lapels. Like, Jesus. Echo spends more time. Spends less time holding. There we go.
Echo spends less time holding the protest sign and less time in his tent.
Oh, whoops.
Whoops.
I meant to do that. There we go.
Echo spends less time holding the protest sign and more time in his tent. I wonder if Echo can tell me what he's been doing that's more important than his protest.
It's time. It is 100% time. Let's go grill Echo. It's like the last person to talk to. Of course, I should really go in the correct direction, which is apparently backwards. And now to the left. Alright, Echo. It's time to tell us how your beard stays that way.
I heard you've been spending less time protesting recently and more time, in your tent. Normally I wouldn't pry, but it's my job to ask...
Untouched people have even noticed something like that. I usually get the impression everyone else is doing their best to ignore me.
So, you admit it's true?
You can put your notebook away. There isn't really any reason for it. Nothing worth writing down, at least.
Well, if it's not worth writing down, maybe it's worth hearing.
In that case, you'd forget it.
How do you know? Maybe it would echo in my mind.
Look, if you take a guess and get it right, I promise not to deny it.
Let's work out why Echo was hidden away in his tent. Notebook time.
Okay. I like how it's like, I have a silly nickname. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Unless he's hiding from taxes, or a weird clown, or the rain.
You've been in your tent, hiding from Boggy.
Why not?
I think it's time I went to talk to Officer James.
Chapter 4, the beginning of the end. Wow, we've made it so far, really. This is interesting. There's a lot to think about here. There's a lot to think about. I have no idea who's killed him so far.
You finally returned. Well, did you find the swamp creature? Where is he?
What swamp creature? I forgot all about him. I didn't find him.
I didn't find him.
What? You're not getting paid to wander about aimlessly, Grimoire. Get back out there.
I don't need to.
I don't need to.
Final chapter, Boggy's criminal record. Well, this is very, very interesting.
Why not? I thought he was our prime suspect.
Well, not anymore.
Didn't you find photographic evidence of Boggy from last night? Let me see that photo.
Gonna present the clue.
If that's not Boggy, what is it?
And present the clue of the costume.
I found designs for the costume in a trash can. Not only that, I collected all the pieces of the costume myself. Well, nearly all of them. There's still the one that...
But the footprints at the scene of the crime! How can you prove these don't belong to a real creature?
Why do I get the feeling that the person who killed him was this police officer? We have proof.
What's this? I thought there were no records of a footprint anywhere.
No public records. The footprints at the crime scene don't match the ones on this page. They were just a product of these slippers. A part of the costume.
But Grimoire, this costume, it doesn't have claws of any kind. How do you explain the 3 wounds on the victim's chest?
Easily.
The prongs match up with the wounds perfectly. The handle's even covered in slime, see?
Ah, but this swamp slime was one of the reasons Boggy became a suspect in the first place. Surely this only incriminates the creature further.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But that slime, it's not exactly what you think.
It's swamp juice.
This stuff is an uncanny resemblance to the so-called swamp slime. A bunch of it was stolen from the storeroom of the cafe, which reminds me.
What is that, exactly?
A poisoned hot dog. It's the second reason that the murderer broke into the storeroom. He put this green powder on the entire supply, just to make sure.
To make sure of what?
To make sure Remington got ill and had to return to his office, to make sure no one would eat at the cafe ever again, and make sure everyone in the swamp would be poisoned. These two are interesting, but the answer is this one.
To make sure Remington got ill and had to return to his office.
Remington went back to his office? Alone?
Final chapter, the murder. Since this is starting to feel like that we're just kind of going through all the evidence, this is going to be a longer episode and probably the last one, unless there's something secret that happens after this. So let's just keep plugging along.
I've been looking through your evidence, Grimoire. One piece in particular seems critical to me. I think we need to work
The
out.
video footage? Vincent Vanderpeer filmed it last night, at the exact moment of the murder, I believe.
Well, exactly. I think we can both agree these sounds in the background. They're essential in our mystery. Could you talk me through them? Just rearrange the descriptions on the left to match the sounds on the right. Drag them around and keep swapping until you're happy with the order. And if you want to hear the sounds again, you can tap on them.
No problem. I can always check my case file if I want to go over my notes.
Alright, here we go. So, that's obviously 8. And this is obviously 1. That's a good start. That's obviously there. Sorry, I got so intent into just doing it. Okay, so... Oh, you know what? The outcry is that part. Then the blast. Then we have a clang. It's an interesting clang. The second outcry has to be that. This has to be the ripping.
I think that's it.
Ah, excellent. There's just 2 small details bothering me. First of all, if Remington ripped off a piece of his curtains, why wasn't it found at the crime scene? What happened to it?
Well, that's easy. It was stuffed inside the head.
Turns out the murderer took that piece of fabric and concealed it inside the head of the costume. Then he fled the crime scene to hide all the parts in different areas of the swamp.
Ah, well, that's my problem. If Remington fired his rifle, how did the assailant survive and manage to escape? Did Remington miss his target?
At point blank? A man of his experience? I don't think so. In fact, the answer to that question is the very last link in our chain. The one thing that has eluded me so far. I'll drag the clue items from the left onto my drawing here, and we'll see what happens when we compare the pieces I collected with the original design I found.
Well, the obvious answer is we're missing the body piece, but just for the sake of doing this...
Wait! You never found the body piece! The torso!
You're right, and I never would have found it. Not lying around. Not like the others.
But what does this have to do with the murderer surviving the rifle shot?
This torso is probably made up of some thick material, something covering the culprit's entire upper body. I believe it may have even been enough to
soften the impact from a bullet! Aha!
Exactly.
Well, let's put your theory to the test. Where is that last piece of the costume?
Oh god,
But how? We looked everywhere. Not a single clue.
Simple. He's still wearing it.
That makes perfect sense. That makes actually perfect sense, and kind of what I was thinking, I just didn't get to voice that, was that he talks about all this padding and all these layers, and it has to be the last piece. We're at like 26 minutes. Part of me is like, I should cut the episode, but the other part is we're almost there. So, you get a little extra long today. Let's finish it up.
I don't know what you want with me. Sounds like you two were smart enough to uncover the real criminal in this swamp, and lucky enough to have somebody else deal with him for you. You worked it out. He had his rifle on him. He got half a glance at me and pulled the trigger without hesitation.
But why would he do that? You were dressed as Boggy. He shouldn't be pointing his gun at a unique scientific specimen, not to mention his main attraction.
You're right. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, does it? Not unless you're in on the secret.
Oh. Are you telling me? Oh yeah, no, this is 100%.
The hunting photo leads me to believe Richard Remington was here to hunt Boggy.
How many final chapters are there? Alright, we're gonna do this one. Let's go. I mean, we're all in now, aren't we?
A secret society, an order of hunters, seeking out mysterious and elusive creatures.
The order goes further than this one man, and much further than this one swamp.
The whole thing is kind of distressing. I knew something was wrong as soon as I stepped into that office.
I'm glad you've finally come around. It's not just
But what about Remington? He was a member of this order?
He made Boggy his own personal project, his own obsession. For years he hunted the creature, the potential perfect addition to his collection.
But he owned the tourist attraction. He set it up himself, didn't he?
He did. It was just his way of forming a legal loophole. Since the area became protected, he and his friends were unable to come here for hunting anymore. Boggy's Bog was just a front for his own little game. A man pursuing a creature.
A creature that might not even exist.
And that's why Remington kept a rifle nearby at all times?
Well, exactly. He didn't want to take any chances.
Now, don't you see? I did this place a service. Did Boggy a service. That creature, he can live in peace again.
Can he? You tried to frame him for murder. You wanted everyone to think he was some kind of ruthless predator?
Well, think about it. Once he became suspected of murder, they'd have no choice but to shut this whole place down. Everyone would finally realize they had no business here.
How can you know what Boggy wanted? You didn't have the right, but he's not a killer. How do you know what Boggy wanted?
How can you know what Boggy wanted? He might not be what you're...
Detective.
You. It's...
It's finished. Don't be angry. You should be glad. It's finally time to leave the swamp. You have another job to do.
I don't know.
Not that it makes any difference to somebody like you, but I never intended to kill him. Just to scare him. Convince him Boggy wasn't going to let him live here in peace any longer. But, true to form, he had his rifle on him. You worked out the rest yourself.
I mean, what do you say?
Well, Mr. Everstone, I'm afraid you'll still have to come with us. Fortunately, there's a police station just a few miles down.
Hey, wait! Aha!
Looks like you solved more than one mystery tonight.
This is so loud. Hello, and sorry about the sudden cut at the very end of the video. It turns out if you do hit yes to exiting, it exits the entire game as opposed to just goes to the main menu like it did for every other time I've ever done that. Either way, I wanted to thank you very much for joining me through this wonderful journey that has been Detective Grimoire, and I very much look forward to all of the wonderful games and the wonderful adventures we get to have together moving forward. So, like I said, thank you very much for joining me here at Point to Play Games. I look forward to seeing you next time, and remember, always make a point to play games.